Good morning. Rise in freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show at wakeupamericashow.com. We're glad and thankful to have you here at 7:01 a.m. on the 10th of April. Have you paid your taxes yet? We are desperately trying to get everything done. We have an accountant this year, and we're still struggling to try and get everything done in time. And then, of course, the quarterly taxes are due as well. It's just an absolute nightmare. God, I hate taxes, don't you? And it just sucks. Thankfully, we are taking a little bit of a vacation this weekend. Get our mind off things. We'll be gone on Friday. Don't be too sad. We'll be back next Monday. I'm going to try and get a replay for you on Friday, so you'll be able to hang out with the community. All right, let's talk about the news. NPR is white, liberal, and woke. Okay. Tell us something we don't already know, Chief. Thank you, Captain Obvious. It wasn't me that said that. It was one of the senior editors at NPR. One of the senior editors at NPR called out his own news organization for going hard left. It's a delicious sight to see. Now, NPR is firing back against their own senior editor. How long do you think that guy's going to last at NPR? I bet he'll be out the door before, well, Greta Thunberg can say,
"How dare you?"
I'll share with you that story this morning. He wrote a really nice piece. You should definitely read it. I'm going to summarize it. I've got a couple of interview clips that he has done with some Barry Weiss and with the Cuomo, not the pervert Cuomo, but the other one. Are they both pervert Cuomos? We'll find out. At 7:30 a.m. Central today, we're going to talk about the doom loop. St. Louis may be in a state of decline that is irreversible if trends continue. And it's not the only U.S. city that may be in an uncontrollable spiral. We're going to look at a Wall Street Journal piece this morning that shows how business owners are absolutely terrified that real estate's not returning. They closed the Panera Bread Company downtown, which is, a St. Louis staple. We're going to talk about that this morning, see if our cities are recoverable, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this topic and more. You can send us a text at 573-319-1586. There's mommy's calling me out for saying the bad word, the T word. She says, don't mention such foul words so early in the morning. I'm sorry. We're thankful to have you all here with us live, though. Don't forget, if you're watching the show live, you got to click that like button. Pay the tax to watch the show. Click that like button and follow us. It's your first time here watching the show live. We'd be glad to have you come back for the schedule, which is Monday through Fridays, 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. It's a 2-hour Wake Up America morning show. Great way to start your day. We've got some awesome guests for you at 8 a.m. Central Time. Judge Andrew Napolitano will be joining us for the Big Brain segment. Arizona Supreme Court overturned a law that set the abortion laws in Arizona back to the 1800s. I kid you not. It's the wild, wild west back in Arizona in regards to abortion laws. And apparently Republican Senate candidate is Carrie Lake is not pleased with it. She's kind of taking the Donald Trump tack. It's going to be fascinating to see how this plays out for the Senate race. And we'll look forward to seeing or hearing Judge Andrew Napolitano's opinion about that at 8 a.m. Central Time today. You don't want to miss that conversation. He'll give us the legal breakdown, and we'll talk a little bit about the politics of that as well. At 8:30 a.m. Central Time, we're going to speak to the president of Gun Owners of America, one of America's premier gun defense groups, Aiden Johnston, about how the new FISA bill may be used to spy by the ATF to spy on gun owners in this country. We're going to hear about that at 8:30 a.m. Central Time. Aiden Johnston making his premiere appearance on the Wake Up America show. You do not want to miss that, so make sure you stick around at 8:30. Oh, yeah. He is the he is the Director of Federal Affairs. So I'm guessing that our friend Walter, who booked him this morning, is listening in this morning, correcting me. He says that Aiden Johnston is Gun Owners of America's Director of Federal Affairs. He handles the day-to-day battles on Capitol Hill. So thank you for the correction. We appreciate that. I like to get things right here. But there's nothing right about NPR. An absolutely scathing piece written by NPR senior editor Yuri Berliner. He wrote a lengthy screed alleging that his own news outlet has sacrificed journalistic values and adopted progressive views on issues that have alienated Americans. I and my colleagues on the leadership team strongly disagree with Yuri's assessment of the quality of our journalism and the integrity of our newsroom processes, writes NPR editor-chief Edith Chapin. Edith is such a schoolmarm name, you know. Edith. We're not as progressive as he says we are. We really are.
How dare you?
Anyway, so Yuri Berliner's getting heat this morning. He wrote this scathing account, blasted NPR for their openly political bias and their activism. Now, Berliner says he is a liberal politically. He wrote about how NPR went from a left-leaning media outlet to a virtual democratic operation, echoing narratives from figures like Representative Adam Schiff of California. He says that the objections have long been voiced, but I don't think that's the case. But this account is coming from a long-standing and respected editor within the company, right? So you can read Yuri Berliner's article on the Free Press. He says, I've been at NPR for 25 years. Here's how we lost America's trust. He says that the network lost its way when it started telling listeners how to think. So here's how he starts this piece. It's awesome. He says, you know the stereotype of the NPR listener, an electric vehicle driving, Wordle playing, tote bag carrying coastal elite? Yes. It doesn't precisely describe me, but it's not far off. I'm Sarah Lawrence educated, was raised by a lesbian peace activist mother. I drive a Subaru, and Spotify says my listening habits are most similar to people in Berkeley. I fit the NPR mold. I'll cop to that. He writes, so when I got a job here 25 years ago, I never looked back. As a senior editor on the business desk, where news is always breaking, we've covered upheavals in the workplace, supermarket prices, social media, and AI. Now, he says it's true, NPR always had a liberal bent, but during most of my tenure here, an open-minded, curious culture prevailed. We were nerdy, but not knee-jerk, activist, or scolding. Boy, they are all of that these days, aren't they? He says, in recent years, I'm betting it was more than just recent years, Yuri. He says that has changed. Today, those who listen to NPR or read its coverage online find something different, the distilled worldview of a very small segment of the U.S. population. Yuri writes, if you're conservative, you'll read this and say, duh, it's always been this way, but it hasn't. Yes, it has, Yuri. Yes, it has, Yuri. All right. So let's hear it from the horse's mouth. You don't want to hear me read the news. You'd like to hear and see the news. I cut the clips, I get it for you, and I play it right now. Here he is being interviewed by Barry Weiss.
Everyone knew that NPR had a liberal bent. It was like saying these days, like Fox has a conservative bent. That was obvious to anyone. But you argue that it's really gone from having a liberal bent or a liberal shading to really a bias. Here's one thing you write in your essay. You write, for the majority of your time at NPR, despite the liberal bend, an open-minded, curious culture prevailed. We were nerdy, but not knee-jerk, activists, or scolding. Uri, when did that start to change? When did the thing that everyone sort of recognized as sort of a liberal bias start to shift into something harder than that, into what you call a knee-jerk, activist, and even scolding quality?
Well, I think it was cumulative. I don't think it was one event. I mean, I think part of it was Trump's election. You know, I think like every newsroom, every legacy media newsroom, we were shocked.
Okay, to an extent, that's true, right? In terms of recent years, right? Trump's election absolutely broke the left, and if anything, I think that this makes one of the best cases for why we need to reelect Donald Trump. I say this as a Donald Trump delegate. I say this as a man who understands that Donald Trump is not a libertarian or that he's going to be perfect when it comes to gun rights or certain other issues. But when it comes to the devastation that he leaves behind him, when it comes to his war against the left, we have few champions as effective as Donald Trump. He broke them.
Disturbed, distraught, really troubled. We assumed Hillary Clinton was going to win, and she didn't, and it was really an unsettling experience. But I also think, to me, it revealed that we didn't really understand a lot of what was going on in America, that we were out of touch.
Yes. Wow.
I think also we kind of locked down after a while. I think after a while we started covering Trump in a way that like a lot of legacy news organizations, that we were trying to damage his presidency, to even find anything we could to harm him. And I think what we latched on to was Russia collusion, like a lot of news organizations, which was, as I write, sort of catnip, although it was just rumors and a lot of it based on pretty shoddy documents or evidence.
Oh, the left right now. Oh boy. You can't say stuff like this and in the left and still get invited to the cocktail parties. This guy is out of the tribe. You do not say things like this.
It wasn't really solid, but I think.
Oh, bro, he just admitted that the evidence of the Schiff report of the Russia collusion evidence wasn't really solid. This guy, Yuri, that's a liberal. That is a Berkeley-loving left liberal saying those things, right? Senior editor at NPR. Do you think the left's going to listen? Absolutely not.
It was compelling. And for us, I think a lot of newspapers, use documents or anonymous sources. We really latched on to Adam Schiff. He was like our muse to the Trump collusion story. We had him on constantly, a lot. I think I counted 25 times. And in most of those conversations, he sort of alluded to evidence he may have had or sort of teased out, Russia, he was colluding, or the campaign was colluding with Russia. And then the Mueller report came out and no collusion. And, I think we sort of the story kind of disappeared. But to me, that was like a time for what went wrong? Why did we miss this? Despite our feelings about Trump, this is a story we should have sort of treated differently.
They are falling apart. Yes. That's a senior editor at NPR calling out the news organization for their blatant leftist bias. It's pretty dark. It's really hard to imagine that the left is going to learn their lessons from this. But some are, right? So Yuri writes in his piece that back in 2011, although NPR's audience tilted a bit to the left, it still bore a resemblance to America at large. He said 6% of listeners described themselves as conservative, 23% as middle of the road, and 37% as liberal. I'm sorry, but in 2011, were you listening to NPR? I never get credit for being right, always. But why would you ever listen to a government-funded propaganda outlet for anything other than either just entertainment or just to find out what they're lying to you to say? I mean, even back in 2011, if he says 26% of listeners describe themselves as conservative. Now, I've known some fuddy-duddy, country club conservative types in my time who are the kind of stuffy conservatives who might have NPR in the background at their homes and things like that. Just basically just right of center to the didn't like the extremists or libertarians or the wild boys of the Republican Party. Maybe those might have been some of that 26% of people who listened to NPR back in 2011. Now even those people are gone. You know, the kind who listen to the music in the background while they're like sipping their coffee in the morning. You know, like the type of people that you see in that movie Trading Places with Eddie Murphy, and you know they're living in like chateaus and different things like that. Maybe so, and you know they vaguely voted Republican. They enthusiastically voted for John McCain and Mitt Romney. You know. Is it Mitt Romney conservative and NPR conservative? But I think NPR has even lost those. Anyway, so Yuri Berliner goes on to write, he says, by 2023, the picture was completely different. Only 11% of their audience described themselves as very or somewhat conservative. There's your Mitt Romney conservatives. 21% as middle of the road. And 67% of listeners said they were very or somewhat liberal. So I'm guessing that 11% of conservatives who were very or somewhat conservative that were still listening to NPR, those are going to be your, let's see, those are going to be, your never Trumpers at that point. Why are they still listening to NPR? Well, the never Trump people need a place to go. Am I off base with this? Are you kind of like, are you smoking what I'm putting in the hookah here? I'd love to hear your thoughts. You can send us a text at 573-319-1586. The text line is 573-319-1586. One listener's texted in saying, I'm getting sleepy listening to your NPR clips. I'm not playing NPR clips. Shut up. And we're going to get to the juicy stuff where NPR is firing back here in just a moment. But since you've interrupted me with your casually rude text, just kidding, then don't forget that you can unlock today's bonus content, Guns That Won, and find out another mini documentary that I've produced for you today by making a donation over at the Rumble Rants section or through the YouTube chat section, Super Chats. Also, if you head to apforlibertyshop.com and make a purchase during the show, and we get up to $50 at least worth of donations or in purchases, then you'll unlock today's bonus content. Find out which of the guns that won helped to build the American Republic as our continuing theme from last week. I think you guys will really appreciate today's. It's one of my favorites for sure. So make sure that you get those Rumble Rant donations in, guys, if you want to see them by the end of the show, or it will go away forever. We don't want to have do we ever want to have that happen? Where you're like, we missed that one mini documentary. We didn't get to find out the full series. So, yeah, if we don't unlock it, then it goes away forever. So get them donations in because I got taxes to pay. Oh, my God. Let's get to another interview here that Yuri Berliner had with one of the Cuomo brothers. I know, don't give me that. Where he was talking to, I guess it's Chris Cuomo, on the lack of political diversity at NPR. Take a listen.
Bombshell today, a whistleblower in effect on bias in the media. One of the most, the biggest, most respected names in the news.
Most respected by who?
National Public Radio. Today, senior business editor Yuri Berliner published a story in Free Press, Substack.
How do you have a left liberal as a senior business editor? What does a left liberal know about business?
I've been at NPR for 25 years. Here's how we lost America's trust. Among his claims, NPR was stacked with like-minded people who appealed to an ever-narrow progressive worldview, catering to a select audience and losing its audience as a result. He also says stories were ignored, mistakes made, corrections never issued, and that it all, quote, shatters trust and engenders cynicism about the media. And when he dug into voter registration at NPR in Washington, guess what he found? 87 Democrats, not a single Republican.
Not a single Republican. This is paid for in part by your tax dollars, by the way. 87 Democrats work at NPR, 0 Republicans.
Does he have a point?
And here's the thing. This is why last week when I was at the caucus, this is why I voted against having party registration in the state of Missouri, because people should not be able to just look that up, right? Like that should be private.
Yup. Do newsrooms lack diversity? Well, depends what boxes you want to check. Political diversity? It's a big reason I'm at News Nation. We got all kinds here. The disagreement is organic, and so are the common concerns. So I want to bring in Brother Berliner, because that was a brave thing he did, man. Your competition is your critic base in this business, and you knew.
It's funny how Chris Cuomo is kind of pivoted now to he sort of goes for those now that he's been driven out of CNN and the left. He, as a savvy businessman, Chris Cuomo, now going to try and get these kinds of stories because he knows that the online media, that the large swath of media that people want to consume, not NPR, is going to be like right of center to hard right media. So he does these stories and says nice things about people like Uri because he knows that's where the bread and butter lies these days, not because he believes anything he's saying, obviously.
You weren't going to get a chorus of amens. You were going to get people probably digging through your garbage and saying it's not true. And sure enough, colleagues came forward to do what you had to expect they were going to do, which is say, we disagree. Uri's entitled to his opinion, but we disagree about the nature and quality of our reporting. What do you make of their response? What do you make of the attention?
I'm not surprised by the response that came from management and the same managers that I've been making a lot of these points about, and they're certainly entitled to that perspective. I will say I've had a lot of support from colleagues, and many of them unexpected, who say they agree with me. Some of them say this confidentially, but I think there's been a lot of response saying, look, these are things that need to be addressed. We've been too reluctant, too frightened, too timid to deal with these things. And I think that
reluctant, frightened, timid leftists, no.
This is the right opportunity to bring it all out in the open.
So for those who are sitting there saying, I knew it, NPR, those laconic lefties, with that slow delivery and just feeding us all of this. Are you saying that's the truth, or are you saying it's something that has evolved? What do you want people to feel?
Okay, pause for just a moment. Looks like we're starting to get a nice audience size. People joining us live. Good morning. Just want to make sure everybody knows what's up, what we're talking about this morning. Good morning. Welcome to the Wake Up America show. I'm Austin Peterson. We're talking about a senior editor, a bombshell report from a senior editor at NPR, National Public Radio, where he calls them out for their leftist bias. And NPR is firing back. The newsroom is already writing a piece attacking Uri Berliner, who is a center-left liberal himself, for calling out NPR for going woke and for doing a little bit of homework and realizing that there are 87 Democrat reporters at NPR's offices in Washington, D.C., and 0 Republican new editors over at NPR in Washington, D.C. Do us a favor, please do click that like button on the feed if you haven't done so already, and click the retweet as well if you're over on x.com to help us to get more people's feeds as well.
NPR and what you feel about the media in general.
I think it's evolved. I've been at NPR a long time, 25 years. You could say I'm a lifer. And it's a place I've always loved working. But when I started, there was a liberal orientation, but I think we were more guided by curiosity, open-mindedness. You talked about policy. We were kind of nerdy and really like to dig into things and understand the complexity of things. I think that's evolved over the years into a much narrower kind of niche thinking, a group think that's really clustered around a very selective.
Oh my God. Austin, please play the damn clip for people instead of sitting there looking at the camera like an idiot.
A long time, 25 years, you could say I'm a lifer. And it's a place I've always loved working. But when I started, there was a liberal orientation, but I think we were more guided by curiosity, open-mindedness. You talked about policy. We were kind of nerdy and really like to dig into things and understand the complexity of things. I think that's evolved over the years into a much narrower kind of niche thinking, a group think that's really clustered around a very selective progressive views that they don't allow enough air, enough spaciousness to consider all kinds of perspectives.
It's been fascinating because this institutional rot is something that we have suspected for a long time, but now it's actually starting to be documented, and it's leftists like Uri here who are calling it out, and we'll get to the backlash that has been occurring here in just a moment, but I think it's fascinating that what's really going to be interesting to see is if he's going to keep his job. My guess is that he's going to be fired by the end of this week, and he's going to end up doing what Chris Cuomo is doing here, or just retiring.
So you use some very powerful words that people kind of see as sacrosanct, whether it's, indicating bias of what people call woke these days, or political correctness or cancel culture. These are often seen as instruments of the left. One, were you worried that, I hope you saved up your money. You are a business editor, so hopefully you're good with your own investing, because they're going to kick you to the curb and nobody's going to want you, especially as a white guy, who's not 18. So
Chris Cuomo is starting to sound a little bit more right these days. Yes, the crime, of course, was the fact that he was white. I just want to remind everybody, too, that we do have a new community that we've built for fans of the Wake Up America show. If you can't get enough of the program in the mornings and you'd like to hang out with the Cantina crew, we have a brand new locals community built just for you guys. You're welcome. If you'd like to join the community and make friends and hang out with people and talk about the show and talk about ideas and topics for the show or anything that you like, pitch news stories or guests, you should join the community today at wakeupAmericaShow.locals.com. That's wakeupAmericaShow.locals.com. You can get a free membership, free month of membership if you use the code Liberty Local. The way that Locals works is that in order to be able to be a participating member of the community rather than just a viewing member, you have to be what they call a paid subscriber. But what you can do is give it a try for a month. See if you like it. Use my code in order to get that free month. Liberty Local, all one word, Liberty Local, no S, Liberty Local, and then you can get a free month. Get in there today. Let's drop some comments and introduce yourself. I'd love to get to know many of you who are fans of the show a little bit more personally and to build our network together, because listen, if we don't get canceled together, we will most assuredly be canceled separately. Sorry, Benjamin Franklin. So let's get canceled together over at wakeupAmericaShow.locals.com. Use that code Liberty Local for a first month free. You have to be a supporting member over at Locals in order to comment and interact and do that kind of stuff. You can only view it if you're not a member. So get a free month membership, use that code Liberty Local, and if it's not for you, you don't have to stick around and you don't have to, pay the next month. So there you go. WakeUpAmericaShow.locals.com. We appreciate it. All right, let's continue with this interview with the senior NPR editor calling out his fellow news crew.
What do you make of going after these sacred cows?
I'm not worried. I think people want open dialogue. I think people want to have honest debates, and I think you talked about there's a hunger for this. Most people are not locked into ideologies, and I think many people are just sick of it. And
He's right about that. Many people aren't locked into ideologies. I really like what my buddy Scott Fawn said on my show here yesterday, where he said, people aren't liberal, they're not conservative, they're self-interested. Very true. Very true.
One of the reasons people distrust so much of the media, whether it's legacy media, whether it's conservative media, you know what you're getting. It's all pre-digested and spit out to you. You know what the take is going to be. And I think it's ultimately unsatisfying. And for a vast part of this nation, they don't want it. So I think there's an opportunity there for much broader perspectives in how we cover the news.
I'll tell you what, it is exactly what these cats at Nexstar sat down to talk to me about when they wanted me to come back to cable news. They were saying, look, if you're going to carry water for the left, and I was like, I've never been a water carrier. I don't know why.
Oh my God, I can't take it, guys. I can't take it. It's too early in the morning to listen to that kind of bullshit.
I have this reputation, but I said, no, that's not what I do. It's not what I want to do. They were like, good, because, unless you want to declare it straight up and say, I am Chris Cuomo conservative, I am Chris Cuomo Democrat, whatever you want to call yourself, If you're not going to do it that way, we don't want you here, because that's the whole theory of the case. I think there is an opportunity in it here. Now, do you believe that this is true about all media? Because I don't, but I want your take on it. Do you?
I mean, all media, does that include all alternative media? All media? Are you talking about the mainstream media there, Mr. Cuomo? Because if you're talking about all mainstream media, yeah, all mainstream media is center
believe
left.
That the media, anywhere you go, is go left or go home?
No, I don't think so at all. I mean, I think we're seeing a growing number of independent writers, substackers, people with podcasts, like the Free Press, where I published this story, where there's a different perspective that we could call it.
Yeah. We have to, for people like us, we have to be chased off into the alternative media. People like me, I had to start my own damn show and podcast just so there would actually be someone who is hard right, hardcore libertarian, limited government type, right, with some conservative bent and leanings here and there on certain things. And to be able to say what I want to say and say what I believe to be the truth, I had to start my own podcast and my own network, because you have to conform when you work at these institutions to whatever the ideological, apogee is at the top of the news organization, because everybody just kind of clamps down on it with an iron fist on people who have to have diversity of opinions anymore. We don't have diversity of opinions anymore. If you want to have an opinion like this guy right here, you have to go to an alternative press. You can't have these kinds of opinions that I have and work in the mainstream media. You just can't. You could be there for a little while, but after a while, you're going to grate on your superiors, because at the end of the day, they want you. Here's the thing. I've worked in the mainstream media. Okay, I've done it. And, of course, not for long periods, but for brief bursts in my career, I've worked for mainstream media news outlets. And I'll just tell you this. They want you to be friends with politicians. They want you to be nice to CEOs. They do not want you to afflict the comforted or to comfort the afflicted. There's no money in it. Do you understand? There is no money in making politicians feel uncomfortable, right? The money, the real money, is in supporting the politicians. The real money is in nodding and smiling when the CEO comes in for an interview. There's no money in asking a tech titan difficult questions. You can't do that. You will not be. You can do it, but you can't do it in the mainstream media. You have to understand. You're not going to get the sponsors. You're not going to get the big, NFL sponsorships. You're not going to get the big clean and clear and under control Clearasil wipes. You're not going to get those big endorsements. You're not going to get that stuff because you make enemies, right? When you're in the alternative media, you have the freedom to be able to call many of these people out. You have the freedom to criticize people who are in power. What is the role? What is the point of journalism, right? Think about this. What is it that we really want to accomplish here, especially as freedom-loving American liberty lovers, right? What is it that we want to accomplish here with the Wake Up America show? To comfort the afflicted and to afflict the comfortable. That's journalism. That's real. We very rarely see that here in the United States anymore. What you see are these fawning, preening interviews where they don't ask difficult questions, right? Or if they do, they had to approve it beforehand so that the person who was coming on was going to be ready for that kind of a question and ready for that kind of thing. This is what we have: propaganda. We don't have journalism here in the United States. And I'm glad to see Yuri Berliner calling it out, NPR, for what it is. It's become leftist propaganda. Unquestioning, biased, leftist news media. 87 Democrats at their Washington, D.C. headquarters, 0 Republicans. That's not an accident, okay? That things like that don't happen accidentally. That is by design. That is a plan, right? That is a top-down decision that has been made by management to not have any people who are outside of it, because they didn't want to have people coming. Did you think that they were going to allow people to ask difficult questions of Adam Schiff when he came on to spin his yarns about Russia collusion? Right? They're just going to unquestionably, and I've seen it happen so many times. I've been in so many newsrooms where I'm watching one of my colleagues in the mainstream media interview a politician or a news leader or a business leader, and it's this fawning. If you can see my face right now in the audio lately, it's just this fawning, like, and the politician's just preening, and they've got the perfect teeth and just enough crow's feet and salt and pepper in their hair to make them look respectable, with like the $6,000 suit that they wear paid for by taxpayers' expense, and the slightly balding show host is just sitting there, like the ones and they're the ones who get chosen to do the interviews with those types of politicians, because they know if they set loose somebody like myself, an attack dog, it's like I'm gonna chew him up. I'm gonna chew him up. I'm not to say I'm not disrespectful, but it doesn't matter. It's not. If you ask difficult questions of people in power, that is seen as disrespect. And if you do something like that, your ass is gonna be grass. They aren't gonna put you in the position to be able to ask those kinds of questions. It's all a conspiracy, and they're all in on it. All right, I gotta go pee for liberty. Okay. I'll be right back. I'm going to continue on this topic. We got Judge Napolitano in 25 minutes. Hey, unlock that bonus content. You don't want to miss today's mini documentary, Guns at One. Find out one of the guns that built the American Republic on the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. Calm down, AP.
Expanse of time, a year might seem like a mere moment, but oh, what a year it's been. In September 2022, Austin and Stephanie Peterson embarked on a journey to wake up America. They began humbly, with just 20 souls tuning in, learning, listening, and though challenges arose, like the looming shadow of YouTube demonetization, their spirit never waned. And now, thanks to you, thousands rise with the sun to join them, to listen, to engage, to be a part of a community. So here's to you, and to Wake Up America, for memories shared, for friends made, for the journey ahead, and for never, ever forgetting to rise and freedom. Happy anniversary.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message. Believe me, Austin Peterson is the best. He's got the greatest Wake Up America show I've ever seen. Whenever I tune in the mornings and watch the live stream, let me tell you, he has got the absolute best content. I love his guests. It's just a total blast to watch, and I highly endorse and recommend the Wake Up America show. It's terrific, believe me.
Is the outdoor of your home about as exciting as a library? Then spice it up and unbore your space with our custom metal signs. Crafted with love and a bit of libertarian magic, you can customize your own metal sign at ap4libertyshop.com. So head to ap4libertyshop.com, customize your own metal sign today.
Welcome to a world of vocal discovery at Peterson Voice Studio. I'm Justin Peterson, here to guide your musical journey. Envision a place where your voice reaches new heights, where every note tells a story. We embrace all singers, from the enthusiastic shower vocalists to aspiring stars, ensuring each voice finds its unique rhythm and tone. Are you ready to elevate your voice? Visit PetersonVoiceStudio.com and sign up for remote lessons tailored just for you. Let's begin this melodious journey together.
Tired of spending your hard-earned money on woke corporations that don't share your pro-freedom values? Fed up with sipping liberal lattes and progressive cappuccinos? Introducing Founding Flavors from AP for Liberty Shop. Get your day started with Washington's Revolutionary Roast. As robust and principled as the man himself, this blend is the shot of energy heard round the world. Or maybe you want to taste the fervor of freedom with Adams's Patriotic Perk. It's as dynamic and balanced as the U.S. Constitution, sure to awaken your spirit of liberty. For the aficionados, we've got the Jeffersonian Java, a complex mix of flavors that speaks volumes about your refined tastes. And don't forget Betsy's Liberty Lullaby, our decaf option, crafted with the same care and dedication Betsy Ross put into our Star-Spangled Banner. This blend lets you enjoy the taste of freedom anytime without losing sleep. No woke beans here, folks. Just pure, patriotic, pro-freedom flavors brewed with love for liberty. So why compromise your principles for a cup of coffee? Stand up for your values, perk up your patriotism, and start your day the American way. Get your founding flavors at apforlibertyshop.com.
Back to the Wake Up America show. Austin Peterson here live over at rumble.com. Glad to have you here. Thanks so much for many of you signing up for our locals channel this morning, wakeupamericashow.locals.com. I see you over there. Appreciate that. Grateful to have you here. You know, I saw some of you guys saying some nice things. Liberty Shindig over there on the chat said many commentators are talking about free speech in the free press. Not so free press, apparently. Many commentators went so far up Trump's butt that they aren't honest with things. AP seems willing to call the balls and strikes. Yeah. So it's in large part because of the massive amount of support that people like you, Ken, and Real Hunter Human and InJam and Urs Mommy and Frickety and, of course, my lovely wife, Steffi, and Luke Sacker and others have given to me by supporting this platform financially as you have. You give me the ability to not have to care so much about what people in power think, because, you know, I have to be careful. I have to navigate the dangerous waters and complexity. I have to be able to get close enough to the politician to get the interview so I can chomp on them and bite on them. Right? You gotta sneak up on them. But it has a lot to do with the fact that you guys have essentially built this platform. I mean, if you think about it, the Wake Up America show and what we've been able to build out, a large part of this success, I mean, yeah, me getting my butt up every single day and being consistent and marketing and promos and content, et cetera, sure, right? But you guys are doing half of it, right? You guys are doing a lot of the heavy lifting. Every time you throw $5 in the tip jar, $20 in the Rumble Rant section, you know, or help to unlock the bonus content. And if you make a purchase at apforlibertyshop.com or you're drinking Madisonian morning like I am this morning, you are building this platform out and giving me the freedom to be independent. I don't have to worry that for my daughter Hazel, who's about to be born, that I have to go find a company that's going to give me health insurance so that I can afford to take care of my daughter, and you know, that kind of fear. The wealthier I become, the stronger my activism becomes. And I was reading Maj Touré this morning, talking about people who just talk online, right? People who do what I'm doing as a podcaster. And are just talkers. And I think, I mean, if I could just read his comments this morning, let's see if I can find it, where he's talking about grifters versus doers, right? And I think, you know, one of the things that is important. Oh yeah, so he actually is retweeting Karlin Bursenko. He says, "I've said repeatedly there are three types of people on the internet: the activists, people who take action in the real world; the entertainers, people who talk about problems but never take action to fix them; and the grifters, people who will say and do anything for money." And I think that the reason you can feel comfortable knowing that when you're supporting the Wake Up America show financially is it's not just me here during the weekdays doing the show, talking, taking the money, and not doing anything. As you know very well, I worked hard to get elected here in mid-Missouri as a delegate. I've also run for office unsuccessfully a couple of times, put my name on the line and campaigned. That's doing something, of course, trying to do something, but I did get elected as a Republican delegate, and I spent my last weekend, all day on Saturday out there trying to maneuver and fight in my caucus for liberty. That's activism. So when you're supporting the Wake Up America show, you may say, oh, well, he is using part of that money to take care of his family. Absolutely, I am. But what do I do with my Saturday? I take my pregnant wife to the Republican caucus, and I fight for liberty on the weekends as well. So I'm glad that you guys enjoy it, and I'm glad that you guys are participating, and I'm glad that you're supporting us. The financial support is important, and none of that real-world activism happens. I wouldn't have the kind of financial means or time to be able to spend to go and to fight for liberty. So it's not enough to just show up and do the Wake Up America show, collect your cash, and then walk, because trust me, many of your favorite podcasters, many of the biggest, or maybe not your favorite, but many of the biggest podcasters, that's all they do. They just create content, or they rip somebody else's content and play it for you, and then they disappear. But their weekends they're spending in West Palm Beach, or they're going on these lavish vacations that they made off the money that they made from telling you that they're conservative, and then going out there and acting like a bunch of liberals and not doing jack squat. But as you know, AP and Steffi, when we're not here on the Wake Up America show creating content, fighting for liberty during the week, we're spending our weekends showing up in person, fighting for liberty where it really counts in our communities. We do our best to support the cause. If you guys would like to see that bonus content, you don't want to miss it, then make sure that you send in those Rumble Rant donations, or head over to apforlibertyshop.com. This morning, I'm drinking Madisonian Morning, and it's quickly becoming one of my favorites. It's a light roast that you can get at apforlibertyshop.com. Our delicious Founding Flavors coffee. The light roast is hyper caffeinated, and we got a late bedtime last night, Stephanie and I, so I definitely needed it. Extra kick of caffeine if you drink the light roasts. It will paint a Constitution-wide smile on your visage. So head over to apforlibertyshop.com, get those purchases in. Right now, we're at $0 towards our $50 goal to unlock our bonus documentary content. So unless you want the bonus documentary to go away forever, head on over to apforlibertyshop.com. Maybe buy those stained glass sets, those beautiful glassware sets that Stephanie designed, again, over at apforlibertyshop.com. We're listening to a senior editor at NPR talking about the bias in the media, something that I know a thing or two about. Let's let him continue here.
Where you don't really know what the take you're going to get. There's a lot of surprise. There's curiosity. You may not like everything you hear, but you're going to get intelligent, open-minded conversations.
I think, I looked into a lot of your work today, and it's really great when a journalist can mess with somebody's pre-existing perception by introducing alternative perspective. You do that very
well. Boy, Chris has so little to say. You notice that? Yeah, well, NPR is not taking Yuri sitting down. NPR has fired back at Yuri and his missive about left-wing miscues. Now, senior business editor Yuri Berliner, who we were just listening to talking to Chris Cuomo, wrote this essay claiming Americans no longer trust NPR because of their lack of viewpoint diversity and embrace of DEI. Essentially, that they went woke, right? So NPR strikes back, and they basically are, I think that they're going to fire him soon. NPR's editor-in-chief, Edith Chapin, a top school marm, says, I and my colleagues on the leadership teams, all 86 Democrats and 0 Republicans of us, she wrote in a memo that we strongly disagree with Yuri's assessment of the quality of our journalism and the integrity of our newsroom processes. Edith Chapin, top school marm, says, we're proud to stand behind the exceptional work that our Democrats shows do to, I'm just kidding, that our shows do to cover a wide range of challenging stories. Very challenging. You had Adam Schiff on 175 billion times, and you didn't question him directly about his claims about Russia collusion. You just reported it with completely unquestioningly. She says, we believe that inclusion among our staff with our sourcing and in our overall coverage is critical to telling the nuanced stories of this country and our world. Yes, their inclusiveness ranges all the way from Adam Schiff to Mitt Romney. Yes. Remember, 86 Democrats and 0 Republicans at NPR's headquarters. And yet Edith Chapin writes that their inclusion among staff in overall coverage is critical to telling the nuanced stories of this country and our world, right? So now Berliner, he wrote this piece in the Free Press. I'll drop it over for you guys in the chat so that you can read it later. It's a lengthy screed, an excellent screed, and he's been out making the news rounds this morning as well. So there are some great interviews out there. Floby Tenderson dropped $5 the tip jar. Thanks, Floby. Said, show us the guns, buy the dip. Appreciate that very much. And somebody just went over to apforlibertyshop.com and made a quite large purchase. Thank you, sir. Love the beautiful whiskey glass collection. Stephanie, aren't you excited? Hey, you worked so hard on that. My smoking hot redheaded libertarian wife, Stephanie Peterson, she put together that beautiful stained glass whiskey and wine glass collection. You can also get a beautiful glass cutting board with George Washington in stained glass in it. It's a beautiful design that Stephanie created and has shared with you over at ap4libertyshop.com. Thank you very much, friends, for your support. You have unlocked the bonus content. I'm going to play it for you now. Then I'll get Judge Napolitano to talk about Arizona's new 1800s era abortion laws. Guess it's not that new. It's old, wild, wild west old. When we get back on the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. Bam!
Wake Up America Show's bonus content program. Today's unlocked content, courtesy of our supporters, continues our theme of the guns that won. We highlight firearms which helped to build the American Republic. Today's firearm, the Thompson submachine gun, aka the Tommy gun. The Thompson submachine gun, an iconic firearm, embodies a fascinating history from the late 19th to mid-20th century. It showcases the blend of craftsmanship and technology from an era when the Industrial Revolution was in its prime. When examined closely, the Thompson's handmade components and technological advancements illustrate its capability for rapid fire in trench warfare. Its heavy weight and powerful discharge demonstrate the remarkable strength and skill required by its operators. To fully appreciate the Thompson, understanding its origins and the mind behind its creation is crucial. John Taliaferro Thompson played a pivotal role in its development, influenced by his military background and experiences with automatic weapons. Thompson's insight into automatic weaponry's effectiveness, especially in trench warfare, led him to envision a firearm that combined rapid fire with maneuverability. This vision was shaped by his military service and subsequent role as chief engineer at Remington Arms. The trench warfare of World War I highlighted the need for a firearm like the Thompson, capable of delivering effective fire at close range in the cramped conditions of the trenches. The breakthrough came with John Bell Blish's principle, which Thompson adapted to create a fully automatic carbine. This concept eventually led to the development of the Thompson submachine gun using the .45 ACP cartridge. Despite initial setbacks, including the end of World War I, which dampened military demand, the Thompson submachine gun, or Annihilator 1, paved the way for future innovations in automatic weapons. The Thompson gained popularity and was available for purchase by the general public, despite its high price. Its effectiveness was recognized by the Marine Corps, police departments, and internationally. However, the Prohibition era saw the Thompson becoming a favored weapon among criminals, leading to its association with gang violence and infamous events like the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. The government's response to the criminal use of machine guns like the Thompson led to the National Firearms Act of 1934, imposing a heavy tax on ownership and effectively limiting its availability to the general public. The Thompson's adoption by the U.S. military in 1938 for World War II and subsequent conflicts solidified its reputation for reliability and effectiveness in short-range engagements. Its role in history and popular culture has been immortalized in films and television, including its appearance in The Highwayman, highlighting the Thompson's lasting impact and iconic status. The Thompson submachine gun's legacy is a testament to its design, effectiveness, and the historical context that shaped its development and use. Its limited availability today makes it a sought-after piece of military and firearms history. Thank you for watching and for supporting the Wake Up America show by unlocking this mini documentary. Our bonus content program has been a massive success and is expanding our ability to produce content, create jobs, and support a growing family dedicated to the fight for individual liberty.
Want an engaging website to boost your business? You're just a click away from 5-star Fiverr talent. Hundreds of freelancer skills like web design. Head to Fiverr.com today and get something started.
American conservatism is distinct, like America is distinct from the United Kingdom. American conservatism's roots comes out of the Wild West, out of pioneerism. The difference between American conservatives and European conservatives is that Americans are cowboys. We are that God, guns, gold, and girls. It's wild here, and we should stay that way. We shouldn't allow a European version of conservatism to come and infect us here. We like it wide open spaces here, deep in the heart of Texas and all that.
Hey there, it's your favorite Vice President Joe Biden. I wanted to talk to you today about the Wake Up America show, the best source for all your political news and commentary. But before I get started, let me just make sure I have all my notes in order. Okay, where was I? All right, the Wake Up America show. It's a great way to stay informed and make your voice heard. Boy, what was I saying again? Oh, right. The Wake Up America show. It's important that we all stay engaged and knowledgeable about what's going on in our country and, the thing. But hold on, where was I going with all this? Oh, yeah. The Wake Up America show. It's a fantastic resource. And if you really want to make a difference, man, you can sign up to be a monthly donor at wakeupAmericaShow.com/support. Now, where was I? Oh, that's right, the Wake Up America show. So if you want to stay woke and support a great cause, head on over to wakeupAmericaShow.com/support and sign up to be a monthly donor today. And if you're feeling generous, you can even give a donation in my name. Thanks for listening, and keep on keeping on, America. Come on, man.
Thank you for watching the Wake Up America show with my dad. Today, I'd like to share with you 3 reasons why you should visit Dad's online store at apforlibertyshop.com. Number 1, you can get exclusive freedom-loving merch designed by AP himself, or me mum, Steffi. Liberty Laura has made some designs as well, and blimey, they are great! Number 2, most of these products are so wicked that they aren't even allowed to be advertised on Facebook or Instagram. Modern machine guns and a proper keychain. Plus, our Grover Cleveland t-shirt internet is so spicy, apparently, that leftists on Facebook specifically banned it from appearing on the website. Number 3. You're supporting liberty lovers just like you. Spend your money where you earn it, and you help me pups build a community that supports what you believe. Bloody hell! This commercial is running too long. Gotta run. Bye now. Don't forget to visit apforlibertyshop.com. That's apforlibertyshop.com.
Good morning, rise and freedom. Welcome to the Wake Up America show. I know nobody likes commercials, but I love commercials because it gives me time to chat and goof around with my good friend, Judge Andrew Napolitano. He's going to be joining us here in just a moment. I know you guys are all excited to see him. So many of you tune in live on Wednesdays at 8 a.m. Central just to hear his voice of freedom. But very quickly, a couple of house cleaning things. Thank you all for unlocking the bonus content today. I know you're all big fans of the Chicago typewriter. Today's guns that won, the Tommy gun, the Thompson submachine gun, one of the famous guns that helped build the American Republic. I wish I could own one, but thanks to FDR, the Democrats, and the what was the Gun Control Act of 1934 that prevented people like me from being able to own one of those things? You used to be able to buy those from a Sears catalog. And thank you all for unlocking the bonus content and supporting the show with your donations and your purchases at apforlibertyshop.com. Click that like button and follow the channel that you're watching right now if you enjoy this content. Come back and join us every Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time, and make some freedom friends. We fight for economic freedom and personal liberty on the Wake Up America show. So if you love those ideas, then you're in the right place. And my next guest is an avatar of those ideas, one of the leading lights in the fight for liberty, a man who should need no introduction. I'll do it anyway. All rise. The Honorable Judge Andrew Napolitano. Good morning, Judge.
How are you, Austin?
Doing good, Judge. Doing good, Judge. Happy spring. I hope that you're well. You look happy and healthy, Judge. Are you feeling well?
Yes, yes. And spring is finally here in Northwest New Jersey. It's cool at night, but 60 to 65 and sunny during the day.
Good, Judge. Well, we're glad to have you here. We look forward to discussing some of these topics with you. It's unfortunate there are so many dark topics to discuss, although when I look at this story out of Arizona, I'm a little confused. I'm not sure how to feel about it. Essentially, Arizona's Supreme Court overturned a law that sends Arizona's abortion laws back to the 1800s. What is this story?
Well, the state of Arizona decided about 50 years ago, instead of enacting its own laws on abortion, it would mirror the feds. And so the Arizona law basically said abortion shall be governed by Roe versus Wade. And so once Roe versus Wade was repealed by the Supreme Court, the Arizona statute made no sense. So it reverted to a pre-existing Arizona statute, which said all abortions are criminal except those needed to save the life of the mother. The Arizona Supreme Court didn't make this up. It just followed what where the legislature sent them. Of course, this is a major setback to Republicans, who are no more pro-life than the Democrats are. They just see it as a base for political opportunities. The reason I say that is because when Republicans controlled the White House and the Congress, all they had to do was introduce a one sentence piece of legislation. The baby in the womb is, for all legal and constitutional purposes, a person. End of abortion. End of Roe versus Wade. There'd be a political controversy, but that would be the law of the land. Donald Trump is not pro-life, and he's losing pro-life support in droves by saying he's in favor of the states regulating this. The states, in what year were there more abortions? In the year preceding the invalidation of Roe or the year following the invalidation of Roe, more abortions in the year following the invalidation of Roe. So if you believe that our rights are natural and that the greatest of those rights is the right to live and that life begins at conception, you're happy at what the Arizona Supreme Court did, but disgusted at Republicans claiming to be pro-life but not lifting a finger to save babies in the womb. The Republicans in Arizona are running like scared rabbits from this decision.
Judge, it sounds as if you're criticizing the overturning of Roe versus Wade. Many pro-lifers for decades were working to overturn it. Was it a mistake?
Well, I would have, if I had been on the court, I would have concurred in the outcome because Roe versus Wade was entirely made up out of thin air by the court. But I would have written a concurrence arguing that the baby in the womb is a person. That's the argument that protects life. All Roe versus Wade did was transfer responsibility of this from the feds to the states. So you have states like Texas, where abortion is illegal after 6 weeks, Florida, where abortion is illegal after 6 weeks, New Jersey, where abortion is legal up to the moment after birth, California, where abortion is legal up to the moment of birth, New York and California, where the states encourage you to come there for abortion purposes. It's an anti-life circus that the Dobbs opinion is unleashed. Now, I'm not personally critical of my college classmate who wrote that opinion, because, as we all know, the Constitution means whatever 5 justices say it means. And if he didn't have 5 justices, he would have been writing a dissent rather than the majority. So he may have felt, I speak of Justice Alito, he may have felt that the protection of babies in the womb had to be done in various steps, the first of which was the invalidation of Roe. Now, the invalidation of Roe is profound because it not only invalidates what Roe stands for, it keeps the feds out of the business of abortion. So if Republicans are saying, well, we're in favor of a nationwide ban, there can be no nationwide ban under Roe. Under Roe, the feds have no jurisdiction over abortion.
Judge,
excuse me, under Dobbs, the opinion
yeah.
that invalidated Roe, the feds have no jurisdiction over abortion.
Now, in the question of federalism, Trump seems to be taking a stance that conservatives had taken, 5 to 10 years ago, that abortion is murder. Murder is a state issue, not a federal issue. Now, many conservatives wish to pass an abortion bill at the federal level, superseding states' abilities to prosecute murder. Isn't Donald Trump correct that murder is something that should be handled at the state level?
So the 14th Amendment requires the states, under the Equal Protection Clause, to enforce all laws equally. It can't take a class of persons and give them more protection, or another class of persons and give them less protection. And that's what they've done. There's no protection for the most vulnerable in our society, which is babies in the womb. A baby minutes from natural birth in New Jersey, the doctor and the mother can allow it to starve to death on a gurney in an operating room. What the hell kind of equal protection is that?
Judge,
I am in favor of the general concept of states' rights, but the governments of the states can be as horrific to human liberty as the feds can be. The states authorized slavery, not the feds. Just to remind our states' rights friends.
Good point there, Judge. What about the question of situations in abortion where the mother's life is potentially at stake, where that kind of a decision, which, while although rare and an exception and not the norm, Judge, there really does appear to be an either-or scenario in such a case.
It's
What's
a
your take
very
on that?
tough decision to make. I don't think you can find an incident in which that has happened in the past 10 or 15 years anywhere in the United States. However, if it does happen, you're going to kill the baby, intentionally murder the baby to save the mother. I say no.
Boy, that's tough, Judge.
That exception exists everywhere in the United States because very few people are absolutists when it comes to protecting babies in the womb. However, fortunately, because of advances in medical science, that clash, as far as I know, has not happened. And if your listeners know that I'm wrong, I'm happy to be corrected. That clash has not happened anywhere in the United States in recent years, in the past 10 or 15 years. I think I would know of it if it did happen. Although some of these things are not always publicized.
That's true. I can imagine that most people, if they were to be in that scenario, they wouldn't want something like that to get out. They wouldn't talk about
Correct.
that kind of a story.
Correct. You know, you can even go to rape and incest, which is a little bit easier for me because that's punishing the baby because of the crime of the father. Only the Nazis did that, punish children because of the crimes of their parents.
See, it's correct me if I'm wrong. So you appear to be saying that in that rare situation where the life of the mother might be threatened by the child for complication of a pregnancy, that the birth of the child should be favored over the life of the mother?
Well, that's one way to put it. The way I would put it is that the state cannot permit intentional killing of a human being under any circumstances. Now, to me, that includes the death penalty, but we're not talking about the death penalty. Even though I think you just had a very infamous execution in Missouri. Such a lust for blood and lust for death on the part of the government. It's repellent. But anyway.
Blood sacrifice ritual is quite common with the government, Judge. Um, Donald Trump also spoke about in vitro fertilization, very heartily and mightily in favor of it, arguing that it is a pro-life measure. You, being a Catholic, probably have a little different view on the matter. I know we've spoken about it before, but because we're on this topic and because so many hundreds of people tuning in live may be hearing this for the very first time, could you talk to us a little bit about your thoughts on in vitro fertilization?
Well, in vitro fertilization is legal, moral, accepted under Catholicism. But once the egg and the sperm have been united, that's a person under the law. I think the Alabama Supreme Court decision, as much of an outlier as it was, is correct under basic principles of morality. I mean, we're in George Orwell land here. If you're going to destroy life by calling it something other than life, it's what the Israelis are doing to the Palestinians. They're not human; they're subhuman, so we can destroy them. Well, the baby in the womb is not a person; it's just some cells and some fertilizer. Let's get rid of it. You could justify almost anything by the language that you use. But if you believe that life begins at conception, then life begins in a petri dish in an IVF lab. Perfectly licit, but they have a moral and in Alabama, a legal obligation to preserve the life of that being in the petri dish.
If you're just tuning into the Wake Up America show, good morning. I'm Austin Peterson. I'm speaking to my good friend, Judge Andrew Napolitano. He's the host of the Judging Freedom podcast, a massively successful show that you can download on any of your mobile devices or watch on his YouTube channel with Judge Andrew Napolitano. He also writes a weekly column at judgenap.com, which we're going to discuss here in just a moment. If you are enjoying this content and you'd like to hear more from us, make sure that you click the like button and the follow button over at rumble.com. It looks as if we have many hundreds of people joining us live this morning, probably for the very first time. So if you'd like to hear these kinds of intellectual and deep philosophical discussions about policy and matters of the heart, then click that follow button now so you can come back and join us for the regular schedule every Monday through Friday from 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. The the Wake Up America show streams live. Now, Judge, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about your column this week, and I'd like to talk to you about your concern for the loss of privacy and civil liberties regarding FISA. Would you mind setting this up for us?
FISA is the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, enacted in 1978, supposedly to protect Americans from the spying eyes of the CIA, the NSA, the FBI, and many other alphabet letter entities that the feds employ. Section 702 of FISA unconstitutionally permits the feds to spy on foreign persons in the United States and outside the United States without warrants, and on the Americans with whom they communicate. The theory is that foreign persons may bring danger into America. They could bring fentanyl, they could bring cocaine, they could bring terrorist plots and ideas. This was the nonsense that animated 702. 702 has a sunset clause. So 5 years ago, when that clause was about to set, I was on the set of Fox and Friends. I looked into the camera and I said, Mr. President, I know what's on your desk this morning. Veto it. This is the same mentality that spied on you when you were a candidate, and for all we know is spying on you now. Of course, it turned out I was right that they were spying on him then. He tweeted about 60 seconds later, I'm vetoing the FISA extension. Well, Mike Pence, Paul Ryan, Mitch McConnell, Mark Meadows go running to the Oval Office. What are you doing? What are you doing? I'm going to veto this thing. Don't listen to the judge. He thinks the Fourth Amendment means what it says. We all know there's exceptions to the Fourth Amendment. And then I get a message from the president saying, they twisted my arm. I signed it. Okay. That legislation is up for renewal this week. The purpose of the 5-year sunset clause is so that the country and the Congress can have a great debate about surveillance in America. Have you heard that debate this week? No, Mike Johnson, there will be no debate. You'll just vote yes or no. We'll let Thomas Massey talk for 60 seconds. Nobody will listen to him because there is no great debate. So this jackass that's the Speaker of the House, big government, pro-war, pro-spying, pro-debt Republican that he is going to allow this piece of garbage, which will allow the feds to spy on foreigners and the Americans with whom they communicate. Second part of the story, the feds have requested what's called 2 hops. A hop is a jump from one level of communication to the next. So if I call my cousin in Florence, because he's foreign, they can spy on me without a warrant. 1 hop would let them spy on everybody I talk to. 2 hops would let them spy on everybody that those people talk to. That's what they've requested. This has nothing whatsoever to do with safety. It has no regard for the Constitution. It's just the feds and their voracious, insatiable appetite to spy on all of us. And it's the fault of Republicans in the House who could stop it simply by not voting, because this piece of garbage, this anti-constitutional trash, expires at midnight on April 19th. So if the Republicans, you're listening, Mike Johnson, and I'm not being very persuasive, I'm being condemnatory, but if the Republicans do nothing, this thing will die and we'll have a smidge more liberty left in our lives. Just a smidge, because they'll find some way around this.
So you're no fan of Speaker Mike Johnson. What did you think of Kevin McCarthy?
Not much. Not much. Put Massey up there, or Andy Biggs, or one of those guys that believes the Constitution means what it says.
They're never going to let the good guys anywhere near the top, Judge. That would ruin all of their plans. I mean, where do you see this all going, Judge? I mean, it's a surveillance state, but it's something of a cross between Aldous Huxley and George Orwell's 1984. I mean, obviously, Big Brother is watching us. The 2 minutes hate is social media, with all of us, pledging allegiance to English socialism, ingsoc, right? Screaming at our computers and screens, our rage, being, clickbaited and rage baited by all of the media that we watch each day, and hating each other and tearing each other apart. And then meanwhile, like Aldous Huxley's Brave New World, we're popping pills, methamphetamines, drugs, medicating ourselves with booze, right? Alcohol, cigarettes, vape machines, and yet it does seem that every once in a while we do get slivers of hope. Every once in a while, Judge, there are silver linings in the clouds. I mean, I know that you're feeling dour on our prospects, but is there anything that you see now that gives you hope? Is there any, like, silver lining in the cloud whatsoever that you see?
Perhaps the Pope's ill health gives me hope.
No way. No way. You did not
And
just say that.
as
His
you know, I was
Holiness?
in the same dining room with him last month. I guess I'm not going to be invited back.
Judge. I'll tell you this, Judge. I'll be honest with you, Judge, and you know that I love you deeply, and I know that, your Catholic faith is deeply, deeply important to you, but I was sort of ripping on Catholics yesterday with my friend Camelia. So I'll say to you what I said to her, just to show that I have courage, and I don't just say it to people who agree with me. But it does seem that the imperial tradition of the Catholic Church, the imperialist tradition of the Catholic Church, bleeds its way into modern politics with the authoritarian right. I mean, there was a long tradition of anti-Catholic sentiment here in the United States because of Protestant Catholic angst. But I mean, the Christianity of the founding fathers is not the same as the Christianity of the modern church. I mean, the the Catholic tradition is one very much that is embedded with government. I mean, the Vatican itself is a government unto itself. I mean, the Vatican collaborated with the Nazis during World War II, and there does seem to be a desire by many modern Catholics, not, present company excluded, to turn the United States into something resembling what the Taliban has in Afghanistan or
Well,
or Iraq.
none of what you say is anti-Catholic. I agree with just about everything that you said, because I believe I'm a Jeffersonian, as you know. But when it comes to the separation of church and state, I don't even believe that churches. This is really going to upset people. Should have tax exemptions. There should be absolutely total, complete separation between church and states. Another reason that I'm down on Mike Johnson, he's one of these Christian nationalists who believes that their version of Christianity should take over the country. No version of Christianity should take over the country. I was being a little snarky and sarcastic about the Pope. Traditionalist Catholics are waiting for him to go to heaven. In terms of what I think the future holds, empires don't last. We are an empire. With every tick of the clock, we get weaker, not stronger. And with every tick of the clock, we have more debt and we have less freedom. And one of those ticks will be the straw that breaks the camel's back. It doesn't matter who's in the White House, unless a Thomas Massie or Ron Paul were there with a sentiment in the Congress that agreed with them, and in the courts. I mean, it would take a sea change in people's thinking to reduce the government back into the confines of the Constitution.
Judge, you're so courageous. Your courage inspires me to continue this fight for liberty. Please give us an update on who you're going to be talking to on your wonderful show, Judging Freedom.
Oh, yeah. Yesterday I had my superstars on. I had Colonel McGregor and Scott Ritter. Today I have Aaron Matei, whom you may know, American-Israeli journalist who always comes up with news that the mainstream media doesn't want you to hear. And Phil Giraldi, 40-year veteran of the CIA. Nobody slices and dices the CIA better than Phil. In fact, I'm surprised he's still around, not because of his age, but because of what he gets away with saying. He's also this is unusual. I mean, he was in the covert side, the bad side of the CIA, and he's a PhD from the University of Chicago. I don't think there are many PhDs, University of Chicago, that live that lifestyle, but Phil did.
Judge, very exciting. Congratulations on the success of your show, Judging Freedom. Your Wednesday conversations here with us again are like a breath of fresh air. Thank you so much for your time and your friendship.
Thank you, Austin. All the best. I'm going to go say a rosary for the Pope's health.
You better, Judge. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day, Judge. See you next week.
You too.
What do you all think of Judge Dan Napolitano? Such a trip. All right, well, speaking of FISA, is the ATF spying on gun owners using FISA? Let's talk with the Gun Owners of America representative, Aiden Johnston, about that when we get back on the Wake Up America Show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
Wake Up America Show's bonus content program. Today's unlocked content, courtesy of our supporters, continues our theme of the guns that won. We highlight firearms which helped to build the American Republic. Today's firearm, the Thompson submachine gun, aka the Tommy gun. The Thompson submachine gun, an iconic firearm, embodies a fascinating history from the late 19th to mid-20th century. It showcases the blend of craftsmanship and technology from an era when the Industrial Revolution was in its prime. When examined closely, the Thompson's handmade components and technological advancements illustrate its capability for rapid fire in trench warfare. Its heavy weight and powerful discharge demonstrate the remarkable strength and skill required by its operators. To fully appreciate the Thompson, understanding its origins and the mind behind its creation is crucial. John Taliaferro Thompson played a pivotal role in its development, influenced by his military background and experiences with automatic weapons. Thompson's insight into automatic weaponry's effectiveness, especially in trench warfare, led him to envision a firearm that combined rapid fire with maneuverability. This vision was shaped by his military service and subsequent role as chief engineer at Remington Arms. The trench warfare of World War I highlighted the need for a firearm like the Thompson, capable of delivering effective fire at close range in the cramped conditions of the trenches. The breakthrough came with John Bell Blish's principle, which Thompson adapted to create a fully automatic carbine. This concept eventually led to the development of the Thompson submachine gun using the .45 ACP cartridge. Despite initial setbacks, including the end of World War I, which dampened military demand, the Thompson submachine gun, or Annihilator 1, paved the way for future innovations in automatic weapons. The Thompson gained popularity and was available for purchase by the general public, despite its high price. Its effectiveness was recognized by the Marine Corps, police departments, and internationally. However, the Prohibition era saw the Thompson becoming a favored weapon among criminals, leading to its association with gang violence and infamous events like the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. The government's response to the criminal use of machine guns like the Thompson led to the National Firearms Act of 1934, imposing a heavy tax on ownership and effectively limiting its availability to the general public. The Thompson's adoption by the U.S. military in 1938 for World War II and subsequent conflicts solidified its reputation for reliability and effectiveness in short-range engagements. Its role in history and popular culture has been immortalized in films and television, including its appearance in The Highwayman, highlighting the Thompson's lasting impact and iconic status. The Thompson submachine gun's legacy is a testament to its design, effectiveness, and the historical context that shaped its development and use. Its limited availability today makes it a sought-after piece of military and firearms history. Thank you for watching and for supporting the Wake Up America show by unlocking this mini-documentary. Our bonus content program has been a massive success and is expanding our ability to produce content, create jobs, and support a growing family dedicated to the fight for individual liberty. It was 1946. A battle was fought, not overseas, but right here on American soil. The Battle of Athens, an intense struggle against election fraud and for the rights promised by our founding fathers. Driven by the Second Amendment, ordinary citizens stood tall and fought back. Help us expose this momentous battle of integrity and bravery. Your support can make a difference. Visit givesendgo.com/bleedamerican and pledge your support, because we believe in the power of truth, the strength of unity, and the spirit of we the people. Let us not forget, we bleed American.
Fire.
Hello, this is Barack Obama, and let me tell you why Austin Petersen stinks, and you should never pay attention to anything that he has to say. First of all, he's a libertarian, and we all know libertarians are idiots. They don't realize how important government is to everything that we do. I recently became aware that Austin has opened up a libertarian shop at apeforlibertyshop.com. Now, I'm asking you as a personal favor to me that you never ever visit apeforlibertyshop.com. With all of the great Liberty merchandise there, the last thing that we need to do is to get people spreading this message around the country, because then they might start thinking that they don't need government. And that's the last thing that good Democrats like us want. So if you love democracy, like me, and hate freedom, then don't visit AP for Liberty Shop. Like I said, whatever you do, do not visit aporlibertyshop.com. I'm Barack Obama, and I approve this message.
Good morning. Rise in freedom. I'm Austin Petersen. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. Thank you very much to Rumble for featuring us on the front page today. We're glad to have a nice big audience thanks to that. If you're enjoying the content that you're hearing today on the show, make sure that you come back and join us for the regular schedule. Click the like button and then click the follow button on the stream feed. That way you can find us again tomorrow morning. The schedule is Mondays through Fridays, 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. That's when the Wake Up America show goes live. We'd love to make your acquaintance. Maybe drop a little comment down there in the chat. Introduce yourself, and we can all be friends. All right. Well, I don't want to be friends with the feds. You may have heard that the intelligence agencies have spied on members of Congress, political protesters, and even congressional campaign donors, all without a warrant. Well, just imagine what these rogue bureaucrats are doing to gun owners. So writes my next guest, Aidan Johnston. He's the Director of Federal Affairs for Gun Owners of America, the only political gun group that defends Second Amendment rights. No, maybe just the best. Aidan, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing very well. Thank you so much for having me on.
Glad to have you here, Aidan. Talk to us about FISA. Talk to us about what the ATF may be doing to gun owners.
Well, look, the Congress is about to reauthorize and preparing to reauthorize the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, but obviously that's been weaponized against American citizens, and it looks like the FBI has run over 3 million queries on American citizens in just the last year. So this is an incredibly dangerous tool that's already been widely abused, and we're extremely concerned for gun owners and how we might get caught up in this data collection by the federal government. And that's why Gun Owners of America is supportive of reforms that members of Congress are fighting for right now. It's very important that we not just blindly reauthorize this this spy tool and give these agencies, which have already proved themselves very able and willing to violate your Fourth Amendment rights, and just hand them back this power without reforms and without accountability.
Aidan, where would you get the idea that the ATF would be using this legislation to spy on gun owners?
Well, the Department of Justice has its hands deep in this. spy program and in this FISA 702 data. And the Department of Justice also runs both the FBI and the ATF. So this information is passed through the Attorney General, and it's entirely possible that this could be weaponized against gun owners. I actually see a very clear connection between what happens with gun registration and what's going on with our Fourth Amendment rights here in the FISA program. Essentially, with FISA, the government duplicates all kinds of data they can get their hands on the internet with your phone communications, and then they supposedly delete out American citizens and only search for foreign threats, these criminals, these terrorists that everyone should be concerned about. And that's exactly what they do with our gun purchases too. They say, well, when you go to a gun store, you're going to have to fill out some paperwork. It's going to have your name, your social security number, and the make, model, and serial number of your firearm. And then we're going to hold on to that forever, and we're only ever going to look at it when it comes to criminals, bad guys, and guns that are caught up in criminal investigations. And I think that when they search those firearm transaction records, and they have created a digital registry, the ATF, that has over 1 billion records in it by now, that's just as much a violation of your Second Amendment rights as it is when the federal government searches through your phone conversations, your emails, your text messages, and that's a violation of your Fourth Amendment rights.
And what are you asking gun owners to do to fight back against this infringement again on our civil liberties?
Well, it's very important that we protect our Fourth Amendment rights. The Second Amendment provides for us to have a check on tyranny and to hold the federal government accountable. But that's totally undermined by the federal government just being able to listen into all of your conversations and monitor you and violate your Fourth Amendment rights. You have a right to protect yourself from search and seizures, and they need to get a warrant. And so that's the most important thing for gun owners to do right now, is to not only protect their Second Amendment rights, but to call your congressman, to call your senators, and demand that they protect your Fourth Amendment rights. There should be no controversy that with the federal government or in Congress where you say, before we reauthorize this program, it has to be that the FBI must get a warrant before they listen into an American citizen's phone calls or wiretap someone. That should be a no-brainer. Unfortunately, it's a huge controversy in Washington, D.C. They've so out of touch with the American people that they think they should be able to run these warrantless searches, that they haven't implemented enough accountability with these spy agencies that are misusing the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act to spy on American citizens. And so call Congress, tell them to get a warrant. The vote's going to happen in the next couple of days. And this is huge. It's going to be reauthorized for 5 years. And just the last time it was reauthorized, it was only a few weeks, a couple of months before a massive scandal about how it was being misused and how the FBI had weaponized it broke. So we haven't had any news on that front for some time, but now is the time to act, because who knows what kind of abuses they're committing right now.
You have it. Call your congressman or woman and tell them to get a warrant. You love to see it. And then when you're done doing that, head over to the merch shop, apforlibertyshop.com, and get one of our Come Back with a Warrant doormats or one of my awesome shirts like I'm wearing right now. All gun laws are an infringement. I'm speaking to Aiden Johnston. He's the Director of Federal Affairs for Gun Owners of America. They're one of America's premier Second Amendment gun rights groups. Talking to him a little bit about the reauthorization of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act and how that law may be used by the Biden administration, the ATF, the DOJ, to spy on gun owners like you and me. Well, not me. All mine, of course, are at the bottom of the Lake of the Ozarks, unfortunately. Aiden, I expect the Democrats to come for my Second Amendment rights, but there's plenty of Republicans supporting this legislation as well.
Yes, unfortunately, this effort is being led not only by the Biden administration, but also by Republican Congressman Turner, the head of the Intelligence Committee. And it does seem like there are lines drawn in Congress that are not on the usual partisan lines. There are Republicans and Democrats on the House Intelligence Committee that want to reauthorize this without reform. And then there are Republicans and Democrats that GOA is usually at odds with on the House Judiciary Committee that are fighting for these kinds of privacy reforms and actually defending the Fourth Amendment in this case. I really wish that those same Democrats that we see eye to eye with on the importance of the Fourth Amendment understood why it's so important to protect against this kind of involuntary data collection with firearm purchases, these firearm transaction records. They don't see the connection yet. And of course, that's why I'm here. I'm a lobbyist, and I'm going to go talk to those offices and try and convince them of this. But really, this is being led by both Republicans and Democrats on the Intelligence Committee. And there are actually some Democrats that are fighting back and fighting for your Fourth Amendment rights on the House Judiciary Committee. Both the ranking member, Jerry Nadler, and Chairman Jim Jordan are leaders in this fight right now.
Here at Aiden Johnston talking to us right now from Gun Owners of America. Over 1,000 people watching us live at rumble.com. Good morning, everyone. Glad to have you here. Please do click that like button and the follow button on our channel as well, so you can get more great interviews and commentary like what you're hearing right now. I'm Austin Peterson, the host of the Wake Up America show, speaking to Aiden Johnston of GOA about the fight for your rights to defend yourself here in America. Now, Aiden, my father is a former Special Forces guy. He was a Green Beret in the 1960s and early 70s. And whenever he goes to make a firearm purchase, he always gets a hold placed on his firearm purchase. He has to call the local FBI office in Kansas City where he lives and have them take the hold off of it, because as a veteran, as someone who served our country to defend our Second Amendment rights, the government is terrified of what they've created in him as a veteran. And so therefore they place a hold or limitation on his Second Amendment rights. I see that you have written recently about a new piece of legislation called the Veterans Second Amendment Protection Act. What is this?
Well, first of all, I just want to say I think that's a horrible infringement. A right delayed is a right denied, and you should not have to ask the government permission with a background check or go to the local FBI agent and have them lift a hold before you can go and exercise your Second Amendment protected right to purchase a firearm. So that is really horrible, but that's also not the only infringement the federal government has placed on veterans' Second Amendment rights, and that's what the Veterans Second Amendment Protection Act is all about. Essentially, since the Clinton administration, they have been treating veterans who have a fiduciary appointed for them, someone to help them manage their benefits, a financial advisor. If they have a fiduciary, they treat it as if they're what's legally known as a mental incompetent person. And then they're put into the FBI background check system, and they're categorically denied their Second Amendment rights. And you'll fail a background check if you try to purchase a firearm. Now, if you or I, non-veterans, just everyday Americans, hire a fiduciary to help us handle our finances, that's totally fine. You are not prohibited from possessing a firearm, and you're in total control of your faculties. The same thing's going on with these veterans, but because a bureaucrat appointed them, because Bill Clinton created this anti-gun process, those veterans were being disarmed. And this has been something that GOA has fought for decades. We've been around since 1976. This started in the 90s. And for 3 decades, we fought to repeal this veteran gun ban, but instead over 250,000 veterans ended up in this system. They still haven't been taken out of the system. That's something we're currently fighting for. But under the Biden administration, we were able to force him to sign an amendment that stopped the VA from disarming veterans. That's about 10,000 veterans per month is the estimate that I've heard that are not being disarmed since that law was signed about a month ago. So we've done, hopefully we've taken a step in the right direction to restore these veterans' rights. And it's very important that this protection is made permanent law. And also those 250,000 veterans that have already been disarmed are also removed from that unconstitutional system.
What's the psychology on this kind of a move, Aiden? Like just fearfulness on behalf of our government?
I mean, I think this is totally unacceptable. The anti-gunners have their excuses about, oh, well, we want to prevent people who are a danger to themselves or others from, getting firearms. And that kind of wishy-washy language may sound good initially, but we're literally talking about veterans who have fiduciaries handle their financial benefits. And danger to yourself or others plays no part in the decision of whether or not a veteran gets a bureaucrat appointed for them. So none of their arguments, as far as I can see, hold any water. This is just back in the Clinton administration. They said, hey, we've got a brand new background check system we just created. We want to put some names in it. What federal agency has a list of names we can put in there? And some anti-gun bureaucrat said, hey, I've got a list of veterans. Why don't we disarm these guys? And it's been going on ever since. That's what, going back to the FISA reform fight right now, Representative Warren Davidson has been saying that liberty lost is seldom reclaimed. And I think that's so true, because for these veterans, it took 30 years for us just to stop the new set of veterans from being added. We still haven't even helped those 250,000 veterans in the system. And if we reauthorize FISA right now, it could be decades before we ever get the kinds of privacy reforms that we need, or before the FBI starts to actually get warrants before they search American citizens' data, and that's totally unacceptable.
Aiden, what is the position of gun owners of America on red flag laws?
Red flag laws are a total violation of your Second Amendment rights. They violate your Second, Fourth, and 14th Amendment rights to due process, and also to keep and bear arms. I mean, in every state that has a red flag law, there is a process where an ex parte court, a court where you don't have a lawyer present, it's just a judge and the government, sign off on an order to have your firearms confiscated, and you only get your due process later. You only get to go and have your firearms returned to you at a later date, within 14 days or several weeks, whatever the fake due process timeline is. And that's totally unacceptable. You have a right to face your accuser. You have a right to defend yourself before you're disarmed. And that's why red flag laws are so unacceptable. We've always fought back against these kinds of gun confiscation laws, whether it's Republicans in Indiana passing this law or Democrats in a lot of other states. Red flag laws are totally unconstitutional. And in fact, since the Biden administration has been forced to stop disarming these veterans, 130 House Democrats said, why don't we use red flag gun confiscation laws to have their guns confiscated anyway? So, I mean, these Democrats are so upset that they can't take veterans' firearms that they're saying, why don't we use the 17 or I can't remember how many states have red flag laws. It might be over 20 now. Let's use those state laws to have veterans' guns confiscated. It can't get more outrageous or unconstitutional than that, in my opinion.
Aiden Johnston, he is the Director of Federal Affairs for Gun Owners of America, joining us live here on the Wake Up America show. Glad to have all of our listeners joining us live right now. Please do click like and follow the channel so that you can come back and join us on the regular. Is there anything else, Aiden, that you think we've missed or that you'd like to cover again, or perhaps plug before we let you go today?
Well, I think you've covered the issue of the day. This FISA reauthorization is a huge deal. I really can't stress enough to your viewers, if you could take a moment to call 202-224-3121. That's the hotline to Congress. Tell them where you live, your state, your district, and they'll put you in touch with your representatives, and you can tell them, hey, you need to make sure that the government's getting a warrant and they're not violating my Fourth Amendment rights. That's so important. Congress really needs to hear from the American people. Otherwise, they'll just drown that out in their sort of beltway circles and reauthorize this spy program without any kinds of reforms.
Aiden, we all are big fans of what Gun Owners of America is doing there. You're in the belly of the beast, and we're glad that we have you there. We appreciate very much the work that GOA does. So thank you for your time today, and keep up the good fight.
Thank you for having me on here.
Thank you very much. That's Aiden Johnston. Let's give him a round of applause. There you have it. Call your congressman. Tell him that reauthorization of FISA is off the table if they want to support your Second Amendment rights. The Wake Up America show has been fighting for over a year, about a year and a half now, for the ideas of economic freedom and personal liberty. And we have had some victories here on the show. We've been doing some incredible investigative reporting and journalism. The content that we have been producing in support of your liberties has been making a massive impact. So when we see 1,000 people over at rumble.com and 300 people over on x.com and a number of people on other platforms as well tuning into the show, we see that we are winning hearts and minds, and we love to have all of our new friends joining us for the show. This is Destination Listening for those who love limited government, and we stream this show live every Monday through Friday from 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. It's a small two-man operation. Well, one man and one pregnant woman, my wife, Stephanie Peterson, who will give birth to our very first child this coming July. We fight for her future as well. A small operation, but plucky. We have big dreams here on the Wake Up America show to eventually build this out into a Liberty network. And I was talking to someone just last night. We may be getting ready to potentially even launch another brand new show, just like my wife, Stephanie, has had her new show launch. all kinds of great, exciting new things in the works. Whenever we're not here live on the show, what are we doing? Well, we're probably hanging out over at wakeupAmericaShow.locals.com, right? So if you haven't yet, please do sign up for our community over at wakeupAmericaShow.locals.com. You can get a free month. Your first month subscription is free. It's on me. Liberty Local is the coupon code. So if you go over to wakeupAmericaShow.locals.com, sign up for our community. You can use the coupon code Liberty Local to get your first month free. And introduce yourselves. Like, don't be shy. Leave a comment while you're there. Stephanie and I are already commenting and leaving some content there. So head on over there this morning at wakeupAmericaShow.locals.com. Use that code LibertyLocal to get your first month free. And we'd love to have you join the community and make friends with us. Also, like I was saying, my lovely wife, Stephanie, she's got her own brand new show. Hustling and homemaking. Her latest video, Housewife Hacks. You can view at ap4libertyshop.com. Right there. Housewife Hacks. Lovely. We should do a reaction video to Steffi's little video. There we go. Well, let's...
the joys of homemaking. The mountains of clothes piled up to be put away. The laundry waiting to be washed. Endless dishes in the sink. And dog toys all over the floor. But it's hard to be mad at George because he's just so cute.
There you go. Check out that video at Stephanie's brand new show, Hustling and Homemaking. You can view that at ap4libertyshop.com. While you're there, maybe do a little shopping. There you go. Historic Spirit Stained Glass Collection, available exclusively at ap4libertyshop.com. That's right. We make all of these products. We designed them for you. Stephanie designed this beautiful stained glass collection. Check that out at ap4libertyshop.com. Has your coffee gone woke, comrade? Check out also our Founding Flavors coffee. We're doing everything we can to be as successful as possible because we want to be enabled and empowered to fight for economic freedom and personal liberty. That's you and me right here on the Wake Up America show. Thanks so much for unlocking the bonus content, sticking around with us this morning. Thank you to rumble.com for featuring us on the front page. Head on over to wakeupAmericaShow.locals.com, guys, and I'll see you over there in the brand new community. And we'll see you guys right back here tomorrow morning, same time, same channel, the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
Wake Up America Show's bonus content program. Today's unlocked content, courtesy of our supporters, continues our theme of the guns that won. We highlight firearms which helped to build the American Republic. Today's firearm, the Thompson submachine gun, aka the Tommy gun. The Thompson submachine gun, an iconic firearm, embodies a fascinating history from the late 19th to mid-20th century. It showcases the blend of craftsmanship and technology from an era when the Industrial Revolution was in its prime. When examined closely, the Thompson's handmade components and technological advancements illustrate its capability for rapid fire in trench warfare. Its heavy weight and powerful discharge demonstrate the remarkable strength and skill required by its operators. To fully appreciate the Thompson, understanding its origins and the mind behind its creation is crucial. John Taliaferro Thompson played a pivotal role in its development, influenced by his military background and experiences with automatic weapons. Thompson's insight into automatic weaponry's effectiveness, especially in trench warfare, led him to envision a firearm that combined rapid fire with maneuverability. This vision was shaped by his military service and subsequent role as chief engineer at Remington Arms. The trench warfare of World War I highlighted the need for a firearm like the Thompson, capable of delivering effective fire at close range in the cramped conditions of the trenches. The breakthrough came with John Bell Blish's principle, which Thompson adapted to create a fully automatic carbine. This concept eventually led to the development of the Thompson submachine gun using the .45 ACP cartridge. Despite initial setbacks, including the end of World War I, which dampened military demand, the Thompson submachine gun, or Annihilator 1, paved the way for future innovations in automatic weapons. The Thompson gained popularity and was available for purchase by the general public, despite its high price. Its effectiveness was recognized by the Marine Corps, police departments, and internationally. However, the Prohibition era saw the Thompson becoming a favored weapon among criminals, leading to its association with gang violence and infamous events like the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. The government's response to the criminal use of machine guns like the Thompson led to the National Firearms Act of 1934, imposing a heavy tax on ownership and effectively limiting its availability to the general public. The Thompson's adoption by the U.S. military in 1938 for World War II and subsequent conflicts solidified its reputation for reliability and effectiveness in short-range engagements. Its role in history and popular culture has been immortalized in films and television, including its appearance in The Highwayman, highlighting the Thompson's lasting impact and iconic status. The Thompson submachine gun's legacy is a testament to its design, effectiveness, and the historical context that shaped its development and use. Its limited availability today makes it a sought-after piece of military and firearms history. Thank you for watching and for supporting the Wake Up America show by unlocking this mini-documentary. Our bonus content program has been a massive success and is expanding our ability to produce content, create jobs, and support a growing family dedicated to the fight for individual liberty.
Expanse of time, a year might seem like a mere moment, but oh, what a year it's been. In September 2022, Austin and Stephanie Peterson embarked on a journey to wake up America. They began humbly, with just 20 souls tuning in, learning, listening, and though challenges arose, like the looming shadow of YouTube demonetization, their spirit never waned. And now, thanks to you, thousands rise with the sun to join them, to listen, to engage, to be a part of a community. So here's to you, and to Wake Up America, for memories shared, for friends made, for the journey ahead, and for never, ever forgetting to rise and freedom. Happy anniversary.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message. Believe me, Austin Peterson is the best. He's got the greatest Wake Up America show I've ever seen. Whenever I tune in the mornings and watch the live stream, let me tell you, he has got the absolute best content. I love his guests. It's just a total blast to watch, and I highly endorse and recommend the Wake Up America show. It's terrific, believe me.
Is the outdoor of your home about as exciting as a library? Then spice it up and unbore your space with our custom metal signs. Crafted with love and a bit of libertarian magic, you can customize your own metal sign at ap4libertyshop.com. So head to ap4libertyshop.com, customize your own metal sign today.
Welcome to a world of vocal discovery at Peterson Voice Studio. I'm Justin Peterson, here to guide your musical journey. Envision a place where your voice reaches new heights, where every note tells a story. We embrace all singers, from the enthusiastic shower vocalists to aspiring stars, ensuring each voice finds its unique rhythm and tone. Are you ready to elevate your voice? Visit petersonvoicestudio.com and sign up for remote lessons tailored just for you.